Okay, so in this video, I'm going to show you how to draw the climatograph. I don't know how to pronounce that word, um, but I'm going to show you how to draw the graph using Google Sheets. The first thing you have to do is create the Google Sheets itself. So what you should do is go into your drive, find somewhere where you can find the file again. It should look something like this. Click the New button in Google Sheets. Click on that. A Google Sheet will pop out for you to work with. This is what it looks like. For this particular graph, we have one horizontal axis on the bottom and two vertical axes, one on the left, one on the right. With Google Sheets, your horizontal axis or your x-axis always has to go in column A. So that's what we're going to put there. Your horizontal axes on the bottom should say month. Your two vertical axes are daily mean measured in Celsius. Technically, there's supposed to be a degree symbol up there. It's really hard to type that into Google Sheets, so we're not going to bother. If you know how, you can put it in. If you don't know how, that's cool. It's fine. The other y-axis we need is average rainfall measured in millimeters, like that. Okay. So that's what we should start with. The month is easy because you all know what the months are. We start with January, we go to February, and so on and so forth. You can fill the rest of them in. There's a neat trick here that we can do, which is this. We can highlight these 2 months. You see that little blue dot there? And your cursor will change shape as you hover over it. If you click and drag this all the way down, it'll fill in the rest of the months for you. This is a function that you can find in spreadsheets. They also do this with numbers, so if you want to say fill in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way down to say 20, you can highlight the sequence of numbers, just drag this down and it fills it in for you. Saves you time. You don't have to go and type in all the numbers. Now, this doesn't work if your numbers are not sequential. So if you're skipping by some number that's not consistent, you cannot do that. Which is why when we fill in the daily means over here, we won't be able to do it. Okay, so now that we have our graph set up, what we have to do is find our data. You should have found this already, but if you haven't, go to Wikipedia, go to the city that you recorded your weather for. So in my case, I'm going to do Taipei. So just search up the city in Wikipedia, go find it. Here you'll have a contents box here, and somewhere in here you should have geography or climate, something like that. If you click on the climate, usually it looks like this. Usually the box you want is hidden. You have to find the little gray box and press the show button. And this is the table that you want. Okay. We don't want the entire table. We just want two particular rows. We want the daily mean over here, and we want the average rainfall over here. The rest of it you can ignore. The column here that says year, we'll ignore that as well. We don't want that stuff. So the daily mean, these numbers here, we want to take these numbers and put it into our Google Sheets. Not all of them. We want the numbers on the top because we only want the Celsius measurements. The ones on the bottom here are in Fahrenheit. For those people who are doing a location in the USA, you have to be careful because it's often flipped. If you look at the USA data, usually they have the Fahrenheit outside the brackets and the Celsius inside the bracket. You just have to be careful. It's actually not that hard to pick out because often the Fahrenheit will go to like 60 degrees, which is entirely not possible in Celsius measurements. There's nowhere on the planet that's going to average 60 degrees. So if you see numbers that are really big, that doesn't make any sense, you can look at the table and say, okay, maybe I'm looking at the Fahrenheit numbers here. So let's take these numbers and transfer them to the climatograph sample. So unfortunately, we just have to type this out. Have to remember them. 16.6, 17.2, 19.0. So on and so forth. Feel free to skip forward if you don't want to watch me do this. Good time to practice your Mandarin. 22.5, 25.8, 22.5 ，whoops， 22.5 25.8 28.3 and then July is over here 30.1 29.7 27.8 30.1 29.7 27.8 and last 3 months 24.7 22.0 18.2 24.7 20.0 18.2 double check to make sure I'm right. Oh, I made a mistake. This is 22.0 22.0 there we go. If your temperature is a 0.0, Google Sheets will automatically shorten it to not include the 0.0. That's fine. It doesn't actually change our work in any way. Now to do the average rainfall. Again, be careful which one you're using. The millimeter measurements should always be the bigger one. The inches measurement tends to be very small, so you can tell the difference between the two. So 93.8 12.4 Unfortunately, there's no faster way to do this. What you could do is pull out this tab and put it on this side, so it takes up half your screen, and then you can use the other half of the screen for the spreadsheet. That might make it a little easier. You don't have to go faster. You don't have to flip between tabs. But I can't do that in the video because it will actually cut off my video. So it'll stop recording the moment I do that. So I can't do it. Um, 354.6 Again, feel free to skip forward over this part. Nothing exciting happening here. It's just Mr. Lee transferring data. Some people have jobs that are kind of like this. It's pretty boring, but at least they get paid. There, we are done. Okay, so now you can create your graph. Okay. The way to create your graph is firstly, you have to make sure the box you're highlighting is somewhere within your data set. Okay, so you can't, if you highlight these boxes out here, sometimes Google Sheets will still detect the right stuff and work, sometimes it won't. So it's a little bit finicky like that. So it's always good to just put your box in one of these. Don't highlight a bunch of these because then your Google Sheets will only highlight these guys. Just put your box in one of these somewhere. Then you're going to click Insert, Chart. And the nice thing is that Google Sheet does most of the work for you. There's some changes you have to make to this, but most of the work is done for you. Okay. So if we look at this, we have a chart. It's got a bunch of red lines over here. The red lines are the average rainfall, so it's taking this column C to make that red line. You can see that the x-axis shows you the months, which is nice. And the blue bits is the daily mean, which is this column. And it's all super low because compared to the rainfall numbers, my daily mean numbers are really tiny. My rainfall numbers goes into, say, 350 some, whereas my daily mean temperature tops out at about 30. That's why the bars are so small. And that's why we have to change this a bit because, remember I said earlier, we want the left side of my y-axis, so this side here, showing the daily means, and the right side showing the average rainfalls. That way I can see the graph much clearer. So I have to make some changes to this. Firstly though, the first thing I want to change is the title. Daily mean and average rainfall for Taipei. Okay. If I don't say that, somebody reading this graph would have no idea what this graph is all about. They would just say, oh, it's a daily mean average rainfall, but for where? I don't know. There's a lot of cities in the world. It's really hard to pick them out just from a graph. Okay, so let's deal with the two-axis part. How do we do that? Sometimes your graph would come out just like this. What you would want to do is click into your graph. And you see those three dots. If you click those three dots, this comes up. You want to edit the chart, and you want to customize. Once you're in customize, you're going to go down to series, okay? And we're going to change this box. This is the box that we want to change. So instead of applying to all series, I want to do the two of them separately. When they say series, what they're referring to is these columns over here. The A column is the x-axis, so that gets ruled out. The other two columns are what they're referring to as series. So I want to do, say, the column of daily mean. Okay. Type, I want it to be columns chart. Okay. I want the axis to be the left axis for that. Okay. So I'll leave that there. Now I'm going to go to the other one, average rainfall. I'm going to make the changes here. I want that one to stay a line chart, but now I want the axis to be on the right axis. And you see the change immediately shows up. Most of the time, Google will do this for you so that it looks nice. If you find that you don't like how it looks, you can change the numbers that they use to make the graph either look bigger or smaller. If you want to do that, you're going to have to come into the vertical axes and actually change the scale factor numbers and the minimum and maximum value numbers. Okay? You're going to have to type in the ones that you want. Most of the time, though, Google Sheets tend to do a fairly good job, and you can see your graph clearly over here. So now our graph is nice and pretty. If you want to change the colors, go for it. In the series section, you can change the colors if you want. Let's change this to, say, a green. I actually like the red better. Let's go back to the red. I like the red. Okay. If you feel like other colors suit you better, go for it. All right, we're not quite done yet though, because we do have to deal with the axis titles. You can't just leave this blank over here. Somebody reading the graph would have no idea what it's talking about. So let's put the title in. Okay. We don't want to deal with the chart title. That's already done. I want to deal with the vertical axis title. When they say vertical axes, they're referring to the one on the left. If you look over here, they actually have a right vertical axis. So if they don't say it, they're referring to the one on the left. The one on the left is my daily mean. So I'm going to type that in. It's my daily mean measured in degrees C. And you can see that it pops out automatically over there. Now I can change my right vertical axis. That one is the average rainfall measured in millimeters. There you go. It pops up right there. So that's all we need to do with that. Here's my nice looking beautiful graph. I can resize it to make it bigger, easier to read. And that's all we need to do for this. All right. Hope this was helpful. Enjoy doing your assignments. I mean, I don't think you will actually enjoy it very much, but enjoy it the best you can, I guess. Have fun.